All right, so let's take a look at this question. It says two students walk in the same direction along a straight path at a constant speed, one at 0.9 meters per second and the other at 1.9 meters per second. It says, assuming they start at the same point, how much sooner does the faster student arrive at a destination 780 meters away? So we think about this, we've got the velocity of each student, and they're asking us to find the total distance. So for part A, let's just set up our known tables. So what is known? Well, we know the velocity of, and let's call this student A, and we'll call this student B. We know the velocity of student A is 0.9 meters per second. We know the velocity of student B is 1.9 meters per second. And we also know the distance. So we know that the displacement is going to be 780 meters. So what are they trying to find? It says, how much sooner does the faster student? So if you look at that, they're asking us to find here, they're asking us to find time. So what we should do here, if you think about it, is we need to find the time of A and the time of B, and then we can subtract those and see how much faster student B gets there versus student A. So let's find the time of student A first. So remember our equation that we're going to use. Right, is velocity is delta x divided by delta t. We want to find delta t, so we multiply t to both sides and then divide by v. So what we get is delta t is equal to delta x divided by delta, or divided by v. So for student A, we can say the time of A is equal to delta x, which is going to be 780 divided by his velocity, so that's 0.9. And we get for student A. So we see from this calculation, student A will arrive there in 866.6 seconds. Let's find student B time using the same. So we find the time of student A and student B, and now we want to subtract those, right, to get the difference in time. And when we do that, we subtract 866 minus 410, and we get a difference of around 466 seconds. Exactly 456 seconds. So let's tackle the second problem here. It says, how far would the students have to walk so that the faster student arrives 5.5 minutes before the slower student? So what are we doing here? Let's think about it. So this problem says, so what we can find here for each student, so we have our same table of knowns, right? So we know velocity of student A is 0.9 meters per second. Velocity of student B is 1.9 meters per second. And we also know that that's it. We don't know the distance. That's what we want to find. But we know that the difference in time from student A to student B, it should be equal to 5.5 minutes. Now, one thing you'll notice in physics problems is as you get further along, and again, this goes back to Unit 1 when we talked about checking your units. Notice here the unit of time is in minutes, 5.5 minutes, right, from here. But here the unit of time is in seconds. So we know that we're going to need to get the units of time to match up. So let's convert this 5.5 minutes to seconds. So I'm going to take the 5.5 minutes, multiply it by 60 seconds and 1 minute, and the minutes will cancel, and that will give me a total of 330 seconds. So this is the key number. Now what are we trying to find? We're trying to find x, right? We're trying to find the distance. And I know from we know from our equations from earlier that t, whoops, I don't know why that went weird like that, but t, the time is equal to delta x over v, right? And we want to find ta minus tb. So we're going to do TA minus TB, which is equal to delta X over VA, which is 0.9, minus delta X over VB, right, which is 1.9. And now what we want to do, and we know this TA minus TB is 330. So let's get rid of our work here, and let me rewrite this over here. So now I'm going to come over here, and I say 330 seconds is equal to the difference in time. Right? And we know this delta X is going to be the same for both. So now we have to solve this for delta X. So how to solve this for delta X? As we do this, we see that we should get these to have the same common denominator. So the easiest way to do this is find what's the multiple of 0.9 times 1.9. So let me actually go over and cancel all this out. We've seen, whoop, no, not that. So 0.9 times 1.9 equals 1.7. So if we rearrange this, this is going to be 1.9 delta X over 1.7 minus 0.9 delta X over 1.7. So now we can subtract here, and we get 1.9 minus 0.9. So that's 1 delta X. So 330 seconds equals delta X, or 1 times delta X, right? I could put that in over 1.7. So now we can multiply the 1.7 up here times 330, and when we do that, we get a time, or a distance, sorry, we get a delta X equal to 564 meters. Okay, so that's it. So this one a little step up in the difficulty level, but you practice in class. You have a lot of the practice ones on the SSS plus the practice quizzes until you get good at this, okay? So remember, physics is fun.